Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to NUFC 360 with myself, Michael, Alan, and Jack.
Afternoon.
We are going to be talking about today's match, obviously, against Fulham for a brilliant win for the title challenging contenders that are Newcastle United. You heard it here first. We are top 7. We are on our way. Gentlemen, I'll start with Jack.
Yeah.
What do you make of this afternoon?
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance. Total domination. I mean, even before the red card, Leno had already tipped a shot onto the post. You could tell from this first minute that we had everyone in their half was squeezing up the pitch. I don't think Mitrovic touched the ball, to be brutally honest. The red card happens. I think it's a red card, to be fair. If Longstaff did that the other way around against Chalobah, I would, and if he got sent off, I wouldn't have any complaints. So
yeah,
I think it was a red card. And then after that, it was just total domination. Great performances from pretty much everyone. I thought Botman was absolutely class. He's so good, so good on the ball, so composed. Almiron, I'm going to say he got a hat-trick, He put the ball in the net 3 times. One of them did get disallowed. The first goal...
Yeah, just a technicality that. Let's just let that one go.
Yeah. The first goal is a goal of the season contender. It's genuinely ridiculous. Dropping over his shoulder, somehow volleys at the outside of his left boot into the top corner. Fantastic. I love the fourth goal. Great team goal. Murphy, Willock, perfect cross. And then Almiron just hammers it into the back of the net. Confidence flowing through his veins. It was a brilliant performance, and it was what we've needed. I think we've been saying for a while that we're probably going to batter someone, aren't we?
Yeah.
But everyone was on the top of the game. It was, and Fulham have had a good start of the season. I was a bit worried about this game.
They have, absolutely. It's not a fluke by any chance, any stretch of anyone's imagination. So,
and obviously Mitrovic went off injured, so then that obviously helps. It's disappointing we conceded, but I mean, at the end, their target was at right back. Would change 3 of the back 4. It's disappointing we conceded, but it doesn't take away from the win, in my opinion.
Right. And Alan, your opinion on today then? How did you feel it went?
I was a bit nervy, to be honest. Before I was like, oh God, Mitrovic. And then that was the main concern. Then I saw Mbabu, I was like, oh God, bloody hell, ex-Toon players might come back to corner.
Yeah. As they do frequently.
Always happens. And then for some reason, Mike Dean was our friend today.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. And from that moment, the sending off, then for the first time in a long time, I think I've been able to sit back, and just enjoy myself without sweating or pulling my hair out, or it was fairly easy, fairly comfortable. I think the possession was crazy, the amount of possession. So we obviously learned from the Bournemouth match. We actually knew what to do with the ball now by sticking to the net. So all in all, really, really happy and really looking forward to next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it like for you when you were listening on the radio?
Well, I could hear our lot from the start, which is always great. And the Mitrovic thing was a bonus, a plus. Obviously, I've not seen the challenge on Longstaff yet. But I have seen Miggy's goal. I'm not sure he means that. As I was just saying before we came on there, it's a bit like Cissé's goal against Chelsea. Kind of, does he mean that? I'll have to watch it again, but I'm not taking it away. I'm not going to take it away from him. I love Miggy. I was saying last night, he's like a little puppy, Miggy. You can't hate him. You see that face, and and you just think, oh, listen. I was so pleased for him today. He really, he always gives us his best. Yeah, his best might not be up there with Jack Grealish's, but it's he tries so hard. It is so hard to dislike the lad. I know all that. I hate that he plays with a smile on his face stuff. But anyway, sorry, go on.
At some point, I was wondering, do we need to sign a right winger? But then I was like, oh no, come on, mate, what am I doing?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? In the end, this is what if we want to go on, I think we know today, especially we'll come to changing 3 of the back 4. It can, and it was Fulham's only strike on goal, wasn't it? Apparently, so no, actually, let's go to that now. If we want to push on, the likes of Lewis. Maybe to one side because he's had, he's been unfortunate. But someone like Lascelles, who is a big fan. Who Ez is a big fan. Hello, good afternoon, Ez, if you are watching. What do you make of him coming on? I mean, does that show that we need really to push on now? We do. It's not just that starting 11, bar obviously Maxi and Target starting. That once we get away from those, we are rather short, aren't we? What do you think, Alan?
I think it's also because of injuries as well. The moment we have Shelby and Wilson and Maxi back, then we wouldn't need to bring on Lascelles or Lewis. But that's
a good point. Yeah,
can we keep everybody fit between now and the World Cup? Can we keep everybody fit after the January transfer window? I don't know. I mean, because the way we play and actually how the Premier League is played these days, it's just so high tempo.
Yeah,
injuries are just going to happen. It's not like back in the 90s where people will be people like Asprilla and Ferdinand, they'll be strolling around and they wouldn't need to press like how we press now, and they wouldn't really get injured too often. But that's the big question: can we keep people like Wilson fit?
Yeah,
even though he came off today on the early.
Apparently, he was a bit annoyed about that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
was a bit like,
What do you? I was worried he was injured, but he's not.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you make of Wilson then? I mean, he comes on today, he comes back, he does what every striker hopes to do. He comes and scores a goal. I mean, if we can keep him fit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, go on. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. No, he's so good. Like he is. He's so good. But I actually feel sorry for Willock. He nicked Willock's goal that was going in.
Yeah. I saw that on the little link that somebody sent me. Yeah, I mean, he was. Well, that's what I've been saying about him. Being of a certain age, he reminds me so much of Gary Lineker. He's just such a goal scrounger. He's not going to be bothered about taking the ball off someone's foot. He wants that goal, and him coming off today shows that he wants to stay on. And I can see why we want to wrap him in cotton wool. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Isak coming in. Do we play a different sort of team if Isak comes in? If Wilson goes out? Do we play a different way? So
it's interesting. I mean, what will probably happen is Isak will come back and Wilson will get injured. That's probably what. But if we can get them all on the pitch at the same time, that would be nice. I can see Isak taking Miggy's role, but also I don't think we can talk about that. Miggy's playing so well at the moment. He's been one of our best players this season. A 7 out of 10 at least in every game. It's not the end product in a lot of games, but I think it is. What's impressed me this season about him is his off the ball runs. They are so good. His goal today comes from just a really clever 1-2 with Bruno, and he makes a lovely run in behind. And then it's just his off the ball. It's always on the move. He's a defenders. What used to play against Almiron, he's just turn around, pass back, and then he didn't have that. But he's changed that part of his game now. He makes those off the ball runs, and it's interesting. He's got options. Like what's going to happen is Isak's probably going to come in, and then you've got Almiron coming off the bench against a tired defense. That's terrifying for a tired defense. Like he's so rapid. You start slotting the ball in behind for him, running in behind, and his finishing has improved. Just his third goal that got disallowed, if anyone sees it, is actually a lovely finish. He just bends it around level. Yeah, it's a really lovely goal. It's just a shame.
Should have let him have it, shouldn't they? Should just let him
of course. And Murphy played the pass as well, so it would have been 2 assists for Murphy because he played through Fraser as well for the other goal. But
I mean, Alan, Murphy's a much maligned player, isn't he? I mean, how do you think he did today then? And if you had to give him a score up to 10, what would you give him?
When I saw the lineup, I was like, "Oh bloody hell!"
Well, yeah.
And then I was like, "All right, is he going to play on the right or is he going to play on the left?" That was the big question. And then he actually played pretty well. And Babu got subbed off at almost half time. He played pretty well. He was driving down the left-hand side a lot. He was cutting inside onto his right a lot. He took a few, I think there was one shot where he probably could have passed it to Bruno. But in general, I was quite surprised. I was really surprised. If I was given
one of his better games then.
One of his better games. 7.5.
7.5, which is pretty high for him, and that goes into what we were saying before about strength of depth. Really, again, don't want to take anything away on what's a great win, but I mean, he needs to do that every week, doesn't he? I mean, that's the thing. These players don't get there every week. I mean, someone was saying to me on Twitter has Miggy been working on his finishing? Because that's about the only thing really that that lets him down. So So yeah, I mean, we've had obviously the other much maligned player that we had playing starting today, Jack, was Longstaff. Obviously, he got himself a goal. How did he do?
Well, I loved Longstaff's reaction after he scored because it all comes from Botman's unbelievable header that Leno tips onto the post, and he runs off and he's like, "Yes, Sven, yes, Sven."
Yeah.
He knew it was Botman. It knew it was Botman who set it up. But Longstaff did well. I thought he was going to play in the number 6 role, and Bruno would play in that number 8 role, but it was actually Bruno again played in the 6, and Longstaff played in the 8, and he just did what sort of Joe Linton does to a lesser extent, but he was covering the ground. He allowed Bruno the time to get on the ball because of his energy working around and pressing high up the field. And I thought he played well, yeah. And it's nice to get a goal. It's got, again, as I say, he's a much maligned player, but there's options in that midfield. I thought Willock was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. One of his best performances in a long, long time. 2 assists in the end. Could have had a couple of goals. He's got to score at some point. He's been so unlucky so many times this season. He's got to score at some point. But Willock was brilliant as well. So Longstaff, Willock, and Bruno were just top class.
Yeah, I mean, Willock seems to get very tired on the sort of 70-minute mark. What was he like today? His stamina, Alan, was he more up for it today as the international? Not that he plays internationals, but as from last week against Bournemouth. What was the difference, do you think, with Willock today? Because he seems like he put himself about quite a bit.
Yeah, he was everywhere today, and I think he really benefited from 10 men. Definitely, he didn't have to run as much. I mean, we were holding onto the ball for majority of the time, so he just could pass and move a bit. So he wasn't chasing back too much. He didn't need to.
Yeah,
and actually, you guys, when you talk about Longstaff in that role, I really think we need somebody in the January window, somebody to just sit there, because I mean, Shelvey is not the long-term option when he comes back.
Yeah,
I don't think Longstaff is that option either. I think we just haven't got anybody else, so that's why he's playing in that role.
I mean, there was a lot of talk about pushing Bruno forward, wasn't there? And there was no sign of that today, was there? That he was still pretty much, playing the role he's always played. And this sort of like, for me, I mean, Eddie Howe, when that lineup came out today, I think, like you said, we've all said, Murphy, Longstaff, we were all like a bit, okay. But the man just knows, he's got some sort of collective going there, hasn't he? He's got something that all those lads, when they go out, and this is what we were saying last night on the preview, they seem to just want to do it, give him everything they've got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to just be able to just get the best out of them. Just, I mean, no matter who he puts out. I mean, Burns keeping Matty Target out. Again, we don't know if Matty Target is, injured or in some way because he only came on at the end. So maybe he's not very sharp, match sharpness and everything. But, but Bruno, to keep Bruno happy at playing, and he's come out and said, I would like to play a bit more forward. That's quite something on how, and I suppose it's easier if you're in a winning team, isn't it?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think obviously when Shelvey comes back, Bruno will probably play. We'll go back to that 8 role because he got 5 goals that season. We are missing out on that from midfield. We don't want to put too much pressure on Wilson and Isak, who do need the goals from midfield.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have that. I do agree with Alan. I think Shelvey's not the long-term option, but
no.
I don't know if it'll necessarily happen in January. But I think next summer there will be a defensive midfielder signed. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go through at the end of the season with Shelvey sitting in the number 6 role and Bruno on either side with Longstaff and Willock as midfield. And that is a good midfield with Elliot Anderson there who can play on anywhere. That is a good midfield.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I keep saying. They all step up, don't they? I mean, they're all not. They don't do it every week. That's the only problem, isn't it? I mean, like I said, Brentford, but I think it must have felt to us being away as well today. Because I think Fulham, obviously, by the way, they put themselves about, and certainly with the tackle on Longstaff, they certainly wanted to put themselves about, didn't they, Alan? They wanted to, and I think it all just collapsed in it for them once they went down to 10 men because they were very pushing. They do like to push, don't they, Fulham, especially at home.
Yeah, they were very physical until the sending off, and then after that, heads dropped, They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah,
basically it went downhill for them up until half time, and then they came out a bit stronger in the second half.
As you would expect.
But still, I think the commentary team mentioned something about too many injuries or something like that for the Fulham team. So probably a bit confused as to what the playing style and yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you were mentioning about Eddie Howe and the team spirit. I mean, the photograph just came out again.
I haven't seen it yet, so. Is it one of those? Is it one of those where everyone's smiling with Mad Dog at the front?
Yeah,
doing his shark grin, which I won't do because I've got too many teeth missing at the front. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really good day, hasn't it? I mean, and special well done to everyone who got down there, because obviously with the rail strike being on, we oversold our away allocation out. So it's been a class day, hasn't it? So we could do with a few more, couldn't we, lads? Huh?
Yeah, 100%. Brentford next, that's a winnable game at home. And I think it's Man U away at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting, isn't it?
But we can go there with confidence. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason why we can't go there with confidence. So it's just it's fun. It's fun this season. That's what it is. Like, there's not any games you're going into where you're really fearing. We can just sort of enjoy it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you take away from it in the end, then, Alan, apart from a comprehensive win, obviously?
Excited, definitely. Also a little apprehensive, I guess, as well, because it's another Newcastle player against us, ex-Newcastle player in Ivan Toney.
Yeah.
We've had Mitrovic this week, who went off after about half an hour. Then now we've got Toney, so it's we seem to be having a lot of these.
It did fall nicely for us, didn't it? Everything today. I mean, the sending off. I mean, let's finish off with this. You take, if they stay with 11 men, and and Mitrovic doesn't go off, to both of you, starting with you, Alan, do we still win that game? Were we that good?
Yeah, we would. We would still win. 2-1 maybe.
Yeah.
Or even
run away with it. Yeah. And Jack, what do you reckon then?
We would have won. Honestly, in the first 8 minutes, we were all over them, but they didn't get out of their half. We were all over them. We were nearly 1-0 within about 5 minutes. So yeah, I think we would have won.
So onwards and upwards for the Brentford game, and your safe journey to everyone.
Challenge that you mentioned.
And title challenge, yes. I was only joking in case somebody's watching this news, but or was I? Yeah, onwards and upwards. An absolutely brilliant day for everybody down in London in the sunshine, and like I say, safe journey home, and good evening to everybody, and enjoy your evening.